wants. Coming off of his first All-Pro season, he wants to be paid near the top of the market. He's not getting that bread, so he's told the Niners he wants to be traded. Take Aiyuk off the screen, because if we keep looking at him, it's not going to make sense, the question I'm about to ask. So, James, why don't you think Dak has done something similar? Before we talk Aiyuk, All-Pro season. Aiyuk wants to be top of the market. Aiyuk not getting paid like an All-Pro. Dak, All-Pro season. Dak want to be top of the market. Dak not getting paid like the All-Pro. Why hasn't Dak Prescott done the same thing that Brandon Aiyuk quite literally just did yesterday?
Because this is Dak Prescott's second go-round to breaking the bank. This is Brandon Aiyuk's first go-round to break the bank. So Dak Prescott is sitting there. How much money are you making this year? A whole lot more than Brandon Aiyuk.
35, 34 million.
A whole lot more than Brandon Aiyuk, and already has made a whole lot more than Brandon Aiyuk. So Dak Prescott is sitting in a really good situation right now. I've already signed a big deal. I'm about to sign another big deal to become the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League, because that's going to happen. Whether he's traded, signs off on it or not, that's going to happen. But this is his second go-around, man. So this is totally different. And another thing, we're talking the quarterback spot. Yeah. We're not Brandon Aiyuk and Dak Prescott ain't even the same. And even if Brandon Aiyuk had these all-pros and all that, and Dak had none of them, he's the quarterback of your franchise, and a really good quarterback at that. And we talking about trading?
Okay, now let's pivot, because Brandon Aiyuk was the breaking news yesterday. He did request a trade after not being paid by the San Francisco 49ers. He does want top dollar. Brandon Aiyuk is quite literally maybe the most integral piece to the 49ers offense, coming off of an all-pro season. There was Christian McCaffrey, there was Brandon Aiyuk. Obviously, there's Trent Williams on the outside, George Kittle dominant as well on the inside. James, you're the resident wide receiver. You've won a Super Bowl, so this Super Bowl question I'm asking, it goes to you first. Do the Niners need Aiyuk to win a Super Bowl?
Absolutely. They absolutely need Brandon Aiyuk. I'm telling you, the things that Brandon Aiyuk does for the San Francisco 49ers is not necessarily all the highlight plays that win football games. Brandon Aiyuk made a lot of big-time catches last year that you might not think are highlights, but are big-time catches, and Brock Purdy giving him an opportunity on press man-to-man coverage to go out there and make the play. They don't have another guy out there like that, including Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is not this dude that's going to get out there and see man-to-man and just whoop people on routes. That's not Deebo Samuel's game. Deebo Samuel with the ball in his hand, special. Brandon Aiyuk is that dude for you. That is what he does. That's what he does for Brock Purdy. Number one, last year, you're not even to the Super Bowl without Brandon Aiyuk. If Brandon Aiyuk is not on this roster, you guys do not go back to the Super Bowl. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I think your young quarterback will struggle without him being in there for you, and I think the team will struggle without him being in there, especially offensively. They need Brandon Aiyuk if they want to have a chance to get back to a Super Bowl. If he's not there, the San Francisco 49ers are in trouble.
I want to say that they do need him, but they didn't win with him.
Mm-hmm. That's true, too. They ain't going to get back, though.
Well, I mean, are they going to get back with him or without him?
Better chance.
I mean, there's a better chance, but statistically speaking, they're not going back this year. You know,
That
based upon history,
it would be impressive.
It would be very impressive. Yes, it would be a historical outlier for them to go back in the first place. Not saying that that's not what they're aiming to achieve, and I wouldn't be surprised, and none of you would be if they did end up back there. But you know that you can't pay everyone. He's an incredibly valuable player. He's led the team in targets, catches, receiving yards. He's third on the team in touchdowns. Obviously, he's incredibly valuable. Do we think that this team is not going to be competing for a Super Bowl, or good to go back to the Super Bowl without him?
I don't think so.
I think they would be a really good team without him. They would still be a really good team.
You can't pay everyone. I would love to pay Brandon Aiyuk, and I think he'll be extremely valuable with whatever team he ends up with. Hopefully it's not one of the teams that aren't contenders, because it'll just be numbers. But that's what happens when these teams get together, when you're competitive year in and year out, when you're in an offense like Kyle Shanahan, when you have all of these pieces and weapons around you and you're able to excel, people want to get paid, and he deserves to get paid. But this is what happens in the NFL. He deserves to get paid top dollar. His priority should be getting paid top dollar, not necessarily staying with the 49ers.
Dave, I'm going to give you something that I think you'll find fascinating. Okay. Every now and then, even I, surprise myself with the nugget I find over the course of, research.
You're so modest.
I'm like, oh, every now and then. It doesn't happen often, but every now and then. Niners fans, Shanahan, John Lynch, don't let history repeat itself. The Niners lost the Super Bowl in 2019 to the Kansas City Chiefs. They had a first-round pick in DeForest Buckner, who they could not afford. So they traded him to the Indianapolis Colts. What did they do? They drafted a first-round pick in Kinlaw. The problem is Kinlaw never materialized. And so what did they end up doing 3 years later? They signed Javon Hargrave to a 4-year, $84 million deal. Well, DeForest Buckner signed a 4-year, $84 million deal with the Colts after they traded him to the Colts. So what is the weak link of the San Francisco 49ers over the last 4 years defensively? A defensive tackle who they have been on the search for after letting go of a first-round defensive tackle and trying to replace him with a first-round pick. Do not let history repeat itself. Brandon Aiyuk, first-round pick. Not sure if you can afford him. You draft a first-round pick in Ricky Pearsall in the same season. What will Ricky Pearsall be? Hopefully he will consider more and contribute more than Kinlaw did, but we don't know what Pearsall will be. Will you end up trading Aiyuk and then needing to find a wide receiver, because defensively the one void over the last 4 years has been at defensive tackle, and if you ask the San Francisco 49ers, the void may end up being at the wide receiver position. I'm afraid that history might repeat itself with the Niners if, in fact, they do get rid of Aiyuk, because they've been looking for a tackle for 4 years now, and they let go of a dude in DeForest Buckner who's on his 4th Pro Bowl season, was an All-Pro, and has 61 sacks as an interior defensive lineman. It's just wild, how history may, in fact, repeat itself.
Poor Ricky Pearsall, man. Like, he's a rookie on one of the most veteran-loaded teams in the NFL. He's trying to learn the playbook. He's probably trying to fit in with all these stars.
Trying to stay healthy. Remember, he's hurt.
That's true. He's on the non-football injury list, trying to get healthy. He's got Debo and Kittle and Aiyuk in his locker room, and now he's like the most interesting rookie in the NFL.
Why you say poor, Rick?
Just because when you were a rookie, would you want this show talking about you?
Believe it. I'm in the locker room right now. Hope you get traded.
That's why I never amounted to anything in the world of athletics, because I'm just like, leave me alone. I don't want to be in this spotlight.
It's my time.
But Dave, I'm gonna ask you a pointed question, because you were there for it and you have the best insight on this. Dallas Cowboys in 2017, they cut Dez Bryant or traded him?
They cut Dez.
They cut Dez because they were like, you know what?
18.
We're good without a number one wide receiver.
Yep.
We'll go with Terrence Williams. We'll go with Cole Beasley. We go without Dez Bryant.
Alan Hearns was there that year.
And what did they immediately realize?
They got 8 games into the season, and none of their receivers could win, and Dak was struggling, and they traded a first-round pick for Amari Cooper.
No doubt about it.
And they won 7 of their next 8 and made the playoffs.
No doubt about it.
Just saying.
And so my thought process is, if the Niners get rid of Brandon Aiyuk, they might realize they need a number one wide receiver. Do you think they need Aiyuk to win a Super Bowl?
It's funny that I love doing this show with y'all, because Joy and I made the same observation and came to completely different conclusions. Because I do think they need Brandon Aiyuk, because they got to a Super Bowl and didn't win. But I look at that and say, you're going to take an all-pro off a roster that wasn't good enough and expect better results? I don't think that's good process.
Say that again, Dave.
You're going to take an all-pro off a team that lost the Super Bowl and expect better results. You're going to put more on Brock Purdy. You're going to put more on the availability of Debo Samuel and George Kittle. Remember how bad it looked when they lost Debo in Cleveland.
Yes, sir.
They lost 3 games in a row. They went from 5-0 to 5-3. They'd been blowing everybody out, and they looked so mortal the minute that they lost one of these pieces. Clearly, I think over the course of a season, you could adapt. Maybe Ricky Pearsall is a part of that. They would be fine in the long run. But why are you trying to mess with a good thing? You've got this juggernaut of a team that's gotten you to 3 straight NFC title games.
3 out of 4.
And got you to overtime in the Super Bowl. I'm not trying to take an all-pro away from that equation. This Brandon Aiyuk situation, I'm banking on it figuring itself out on a longer timeline, but I need him here. If we are going to improve on losing a Super Bowl, I just don't think you're going to do it by taking an all-pro off your team.
Very, very, very well said. Well, speaking of all-pros, Jalen Hurts was an all-pro 2 years ago, but last year he fell short as the Eagles collapsed.